Hello there folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellus Guy. Today we are going to be doing probably a quick run through of the tavern that we're working on, which is going to be called the King's Charter. And the reason that we're going to be moving a little quick today is just because it is balls hot in my house right now. And, heat rises and I'm on the second floor. And these two fans that I have next to me, they're helping a little bit. And it's nice that it's a dry heat, but it's stifling. So what I might do is maybe spend like a half an hour doing a little bit of work here on this map, and then I might go downstairs and I might just stream another experience altogether. I'll do some more dredge. I feel like I'm close to the end of that game, and there's a couple other games that are coming out that I want to try, yeah, we'll just kind of see what we get. So what we're going to do is, we already saw the prep work that we did yesterday. Most of what we have is pretty much done. We have a good idea of the bones of the map that we're going to make. And what we're going to do is come over into the actual map itself. Now, I do use a template because I like all my maps to have the same size, because they end up really nice on a large gaming pad that we sell on our Etsy store. And I just try and keep things to that template. There's a little bit of cutoff on the left side, and I don't really... I don't mind that so much. In any case, what we are looking at is the map, the template that I have for Versali-Virai going forward. Those of you who see me do some of the work from the very beginning will notice that there's a few less puddles here. I used the regular template to do a little bit of work, and then there's a second dirt layer that you can use that doesn't have any of the puddles, and I basically filled the puddles in. Versali-Virai, while it's coastal, it's a pretty arid place, so I wanted to make sure that there wasn't a lot of puddles lying around or anything like that, and even if there were, they would dry up, so I wanted to try and, kind of hide that. We're not going to see a lot of it in this map anyway, but I wanted a template because I wanted things to feel the same when you moved from one area of Versali-Virai to another. We do know, based on here, that there is a lot to work on. So I wanted to make sure that things feel, pretty consistent. Consistency is like one of my favorite things. And we'll probably be inconsistent when it comes to the area around the river. Well, it's not really a river. It's kind of... I suppose it is. But in any case, this is where the water comes into the city. So it is seawater. But they'll probably have a little bit of puddle spots and things like that, but that's neither here nor there. We are focused on the King's Charter today. So what we're going to do is kind of map out our area. We know that it is 5 from the left and 3 up, so that's where we're going to look to start. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, and then we're going to do, I believe it's a 6x9. We'll verify it in a moment. I think that should stay there. Yeah, it stays there. So, yep, 9x6. Let's verify that I did it the right way. Yep, so that should be good. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice is I used these kind of wood panels. I shrunk them down a little bit. You can see that they're sized to 50, and I wanted them to be angled. I thought that gave them a little bit better of a shape. Right now, you're barely going to notice a difference between this and the dirt. Once we throw walls in there and we throw a little bit of grass on the ground, it'll be a lot more apparent at that point. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to make a couple of different variations of the wooden floor. So we're going to mess with the brightness. We're going to mess with a couple of different things. Similar to the way that we did the work on the Forgotten Keep, where we had like varying shades of color that helped you kind of eyeball, all right, this is a different room. It is, but it just kind of adds to that feeling, that presence. So what we're going to do is head back here. We're going to shape this out as well. So we know from here, you know what, we could actually do this one instead. Maybe that's what we'll do. No, we won't. I'm going to make that lighter. I want it to feel a little airier. So what we're going to do is from the top of that one, we're going to move one over – and up 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's where we're going to start. And more importantly, we're actually going to rotate this the opposite way. So my math is going to be all wrong. 135 ought to be right. And then I have to go back to the color because I actually clicked up here and that screwed everything up. So something like, we'll do 75. We'll see how that looks. And again, I'm going to use this to map it out. We're going to do the whole area in this color. This is like the entry area. But we're going to take this little spot first. So that is a 10 by 4. Too far. And let's verify real quick that it actually was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So we should be good there. If I hit apply, you can very easily note, again, the dirt is going to screw things up a little bit. Oh, thanks, Doom Thugs Live. I appreciate the follow. And thank you, that nerdy Kev. I need to make it so that I can hear these things coming through a little bit better. All right, let's see. So from the bottom here, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So over 1, and we're going to do a 5 by 12. So let's see what we got here. I don't know why it doesn't want to play nice with that kind of stuff, but that's perfectly fine. And let's see, we'll go back here and see if we move over 1, 2, 3, we want a 4 by 8. Verify that I got that right. So we actually want to be up 2, and from here we'll do our 4 by 8. And I'll probably eyeball it real quick. Oh, wait a minute. So I noticed because of that, because we're doing a partial opacity, that's what the problem is. Don't mind me none. Here's what we're gonna do. That's part of the reason that it's looking the way that it is. It should have been this darker color to begin with. And now that it's full opacity, it shouldn't be. There's no blend there, so I can do this. And what I'm gonna do is apply that. We'll go back to the original set over here and apply that, and it should be a much nicer shade. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a floor that kind of goes here. Like in contemporary houses and stuff like that, we do have the sort of like border between the floors, and we're going to have a wall too. So we're going to have to figure out how to do that in a way that's more comfortable, things like that. We're going to move into the next little room right here, which is going to be a 4 by 8. We've got 4 4 by 8s. They're the rooms in this tavern. There's a couple more rooms upstairs. We're focusing on the first floor of this tavern today. So we're going to do... I don't want to just do back and forth with those... with the wood grain or anything like that, so we're going to try and see if there is... We've got small wooden floor and wood floor. I wonder what this looks like. Just try this out real quick and see how we like it. I feel like the slats are going to be way too big. So we're going to go to placement again. We're going to go to size. I think 50 was the magic number for the last one. And for whatever reason, my numlock didn't want to play nice. That still doesn't really look the right size, which is funny because it's supposed to be the small one. So let's see what we got for these guys. These were 50 as well, and they just don't play nice. So I think what we're going to do actually is we'll take the wood that we already have, and we'll make a variant of it. So we'll grab that, make it 50. Should be the right size. We might mess with the color a little bit. Yeah, I think I like that. I'm eyeballing it. I feel like I like it. We're going to actually make this a little lighter. Ooh, want to do the whole thing, not just a piece of it. All right, and then same thing up here, but again, we don't want it to be the same color because we want to help the player kind of differentiate. So what we're going to do is maybe make it even brighter. And that's pretty visually apparent. Now, one thing that I just noticed on here, we've got this little area right here, so we're actually going to fill that in as well. I didn't really notice it because the stairs go up to like this second level, but on the first level, this is going to be, it's going to need to be there as well. And we'll actually extend the counter back there as well. Let's take a step back over here. Every time. At least it's easy to grab the piece and move it back. Part of me is toying with whether or not to do like change it so that it's sideways, but I think that that's too much of a mirror reflection and I don't want to go that route, at least for now. So one more time, we're going to take a step back to our pre-planning, and you'll see this actually comes out past the area that we have open there, so we're going to grab that to about here. I lied, one more. And what we'll do is there should be some gray that we can use in one of these sets. I don't want to use the Tavern set, so we're going to go to the entire thing over here. And I want it to be this gray ground. We might start with a smaller opacity. Let's do 40. I think it goes out to there. Check just to be sure. One less. I might change my mind before all is said and done. Yeah, we're going to do one level higher. One more. Just because I don't like how much of the ground you can see outside. We want to see a little bit of it. You're not going to really notice it once the wall is in place. We'll do kind of wooden walls around this piece, and then we'll have a stone wall around here, kind of temperature control. And then everything over here is going to be that nice wooden kind of feel. Now, the thing about what we have left is there is nothing to really lock this in place, so we have to be careful about what else we're working on. I do know that there is a kind of brick wall in the background there, so what we're going to do is see what looks right. We're going to go through everything and see if we can find something that we can use as kind of like the ramparts that kind of go through the city. I don't know that anything is going to be super the way that I want. We've got this kind of gothic tile that's a nice look, and the crypt floor, but I want to try and see if there's something similar. We might be able to kind of lighten it up so that it doesn't look so grotesque. We've got tiles, we've got stone floor, which actually might look right. I'm going to do some testing. So what we're going to do is we'll take it to about halfway, and we'll eyeball it. That's going to be too big too. So same thing as with the floors. We want this to look like people are actually walking on these darn things. So we've got, and again with the opacity, don't mind me. At least it's easy to make corrections on these darn things. I might do a separate layer of that. Again, we're going to play with rotation real quick. So we're going to pull that 90 degrees because we actually just want to rotate it sideways and see since. So I think I like that better. And the reason that I like it better is because if you're kind of walking on the rampart, it looks more natural to have it stacked that way. So we're going to, this is right now what I'm very happy with, but we're going to take one of those crypt ones because I'm not going to like anything from the temple that's too square. And I feel like Gothic Horror is the one that we're going to go for. So we might lighten this up. And take this over here. All these are going to have to get taken away. I'm going to have to do some deletes anyway, but same thing as the other one. We know that we're going to have to change the size, so we'll change that to 50, and we'll change the rotation to 90. And so you get that nice little preview there, but I still don't know what it really looks like. That is too dark, so we are going to go to the color. We're going to go to the brightness. Something like, let's try 125. See if we like that any better. I feel like that could work. Let's get a vote from the people who are lurking right now. Do you like the sideways tavern tiles that really look more like stonework, or do we like the kind of darker color brickwork that we got from the Gothic set? I'll give it a minute since I have to drink some water anyway. And then if I get 0 votes one way or the other, I'll be the tiebreaker. All right. So Misery likes the darker Gothic, so we'll give it like another 15 seconds to see if anybody agrees or disagrees. And then we'll move on from there. All right, Gothic it is. So we're taking everything away just so that we can put the Gothic back. So once again, to the pre-planning, we know that there is a wall that goes all the way to the edge of the second room up there. So we'll grab this right here, throw some of that Gothic on, and that looks nice. We'll end up having the walls kind of in the back there, and we're going to have to figure out what makes the most sense to kind of have prevalence, because we'll have the tavern wall and the walkway wall. We want to make sure that both of them are showing up the correct way. And then we do have another smidge of it over here because we decided to add like another 3 tiles worth. So we know we're going to step 9 tiles out, technically 10 tiles out, and then we're going to have 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this one here is where we start our 3. Throw it there as well. That's technically it as far as that goes. And then the next thing we're going to do... Oh, drat, did it really go away? No matter. So here's the deal. I am prepared for that silly kind of thing. And what I did was... You can see now I'm missing some materials. It only preserves like the last 12, and we used a lot of different kinds of tiles and things like that. So I have a planning folder, and I knew that I was going to be working on Versali-Virai. So this is what the Versali-Virai grass is supposed to look like. So we use the regular grass brush type, and then we've got these kind of color schemes. So I'm going to move this over to my other monitor. Don't really need that right now. We're going to go back to the brushes. It should just be part of the core set. Yep, it's just this guy here. And then we're going to go to the placement. It's going to be 80. Going to use a brush like that. We're not going to keep it green like that because Versali-Virai shouldn't really be like that, and we're going to use a smaller brush anyway to paint. And I'm going to throw on my glove because we're going to paint with the stylus instead, just to make sure that everything is nice and neat. We're going to go with a 0.5. We're not going to do anything. I'm sorry, size can be 100 here. Size is going to be for the brush size up here, so that's going to be okay. So 0.5 is fine there. We're actually going to mess with the colors, not the placement. So the hue is the only thing that we're changing here, and it's going to be -30, so it has that kind of like dried, kind of dead. Again, Versali-Virai is supposed to be arid, so we're going to kind of put tufts of things somewhere. I'm going to move the planning map over to my other screen as well, just so that I know where I'm drawing. We do know that we're going to be putting some, like a garden over on the one side. We know that in the top right area up here, which you're not going to see me really drawing, that's going to be where a couple of other buildings are. After we put a little bit of this kind of dry grass together, we'll see what we have. So we're just going to do a little bit here. There's going to be another building here, so we're going to leave that alone as well. We're going to go over this a couple of times, but we're being very specific about where we're going over it. Because we do know that there's going to be a tree here, there's going to be a road that goes up. I don't want to step too far up there. This is where there's going to be another room over here as well. And what we'll do is we're going to do the same thing that we did last time with this, because we're going to forget to do this otherwise. And I didn't put my information together. So we know that this room comes out to the end. So we're going to go again back to our shape rectangle. Throw that there. And then that's kind of your way of the darn opacity every time. It's going to take a while for me to remember that when I'm doing the internal maps. All right, so that is kind of like, I'm envisioning that being like the kitchen behind the counter. So that's where the barkeeper can go to get, you know, food orders and things like that. Typically speaking, your ale and stuff like that is going to be down in the basement. So there are going to be kind of like some stairs in this little gray area here that leads down into a bigger spot down in the basement. So just like with the Forgotten Keep, we're going to have probably this main floor as the freebie that you can get the low resolution for, and like $2 patrons can get. But then the $5 version is going to be the ones with the variants and things like that. So we'll point all this out when we're done with this a little closer to next week. So I'm going to save, just because while we haven't made a lot of changes, I like to do around 50. There's a lot of work that we put into this small amount of changes. So we'll hit save. And then we're going to try and figure out what direction we want to go in with the road. So I don't think that they really have anything that's really road specific. If I go to Fantasy Battle Maps 2.0, there's really not anything really there. So we're probably going to end up looking at dirt or something like that. And I just want to make sure that it feels appropriate. Versali-Virai is also kind of well-to-do. I mean, there's some slummier areas. King's Charter really shouldn't feel like one of them. Let's see if we have anything that fits the mood for what we got. Got cobblestone floors. I'm sure these stone floors were supposed to be... You know what? We're not using them now, so we might be able to use these. Maybe we will play with the opacity a little bit. And I'm just playing with the style of it real quick, just to see... I don't want it to be... Well, I don't know. If it's cobblestone, it kind of makes sense for it to... Well, not that big. Again, we're going to have to mess with the size a little bit. We could go like really nuts with it. We know that every one of these squares is supposed to be 5 feet, so let's screw it. Let's go nuts. So we're going to actually zoom in. If it lets me zoom in. And then we're going to look at the placement one more time. So in theory, every one of these tiles is 5 feet. So, I don't know. The bricks that I'm usually seeing aren't that big, so we might bring it down to 20 and see how we like it. 20 seems nice to me. We're going to mess with the opacity again. I don't know. See, here's the problem. With the floors, everything kind of feels laid the right way. When you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. We're going to mess with the opacity one more time because I was playing with it. I feel like... Actually, full opacity is not the right way to go for that, I don't believe. Let's, we'll get rid of everything, and I'm going to try a slightly higher. We'll try 75 instead of 50. That looks like a nice color. I'm happy with that color. So, again, same thing as with some of the work that we did up here. We specifically chose the way that was pitched because we wanted it to feel like you're moving in that direction. For the entrance to our tavern, this makes a lot of sense. But we also know... I'm going to take that away one more time. And the reason that I'm doing it is I want to see if I can pull this off the right way. I don't know if this is going to look accurate. We're going to change this so it's at 135, which is the... that little turn to the side. No, we don't want it 135. Maybe not 90. No, it should be. No, it was 45. Don't mind me. So the reason that I'm doing 45 here is because I want it to look like it's shifting into a turn there. I don't know if it's doing what I want, but we're at least going to give it a try. And then from there, I know that I want a 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And we're actually going to change that to 90. Nope. Yeah, it should be 90. I just went too fast and didn't pay attention. So I kind of feel like that does what I want. You're not going to get it perfect, I don't think. And I don't think that there's a stamp that really does what we want it to do either. Let's look at the... There's not anything for like a town or anything to the best of my knowledge. Core doesn't have anything that I like. Castle has stairs and stuff like that, but it's mostly like when you go to the castle and stuff like that, you're usually seeing things like walls, stairs, things like that. We could do castle walls for that area up there and certainly shrunk down. But I feel like the brush layer is the layer that we're going to want for what we're doing. And then we know we'll do a step down and 13. So we're not going to change. Drat, these questions, they plague a DM. So right now we know that if we go here to 13, this next step up is going to be, again, another step up. But if we're using this sort of style here where we shift into the next, it turns upward, I think what makes sense is we'll go 11, apply that sideways. This might be the wrong way. It might be the wrong direction. Nope, that's right. So this one over here is going to have to go the other way. So we're going to have to change that rotation to 135, and it should look kind of like a mirror image of that one over there. Yep, and it kind of does. So let's go back to the side one again, and then... So this one's tricky because these ones are just kind of... Here, I'll show you. So thus far, we've done kind of a turn here, a turn here, a turn here. Everything else is a step up until we get to here. So I don't know if we want to just keep things sideways, because we could, in theory, just do steps like... You jerk. Steps like that until we get to where we want. But let's try it the other way, since we have those tiles already made up. I don't know how I feel about it. So we'll put everything down. So we'll have two different versions of them side by side, so we can let the committee decide again what people feel like looks better. So we've got this kind of one over here. We'll call this set step 1, and we'll call this set step 2. Which stepped variety do people like better? That kind of tilted step 1 or the straight up sideways step 2? And how much do you like it? Do you like it a lot? Is it your favorite? Tilted step 1. All right, well, the good news is we've already got that in there. So much. All right, and then we'll head back to this guy. I'll move this over so I can just kind of peek. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll do that 2 more times. And then from there, we'll do the sideways again because it starts to approach. Oop, not that one. Because at that point, it starts to approach that. Drat. That one is... That's because I did it twice, so the 75 opacity went all the way. That looks much better. All right. We'll save again. Again, just because... It's not a lot of work that we did as far as how many changes we made. It was how much work we did deciding on those various things. So from here, we are going to... We're going to take the gray ground again, and we're going to use that to build out the other houses. And the reason that I'm doing that is... A lot of these houses are probably they're not meant to be ritzy houses. We can see based on the pre-planning, these guys over here, most likely not even really houses, they're sheds and stuff like that. This building up here might be kind of like a spot for the innkeeper to live if he's got to rent out one of his rooms that he's typically going to use for himself, something like that. These ones might be storage or something along those lines. Over here, when we do that, one of these rooms might be a little ritzier. There might be like some wooden rooms and stuff like that. I feel like the stone type makes it feel a little bit more primitive. So we'll do that. I'm going to grab the core again. This one, and we'll go back to like a 90. And then we just got to figure out where they live. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4 up from the edge there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I think it's just a 2 by 3. Let's verify that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Apply. That looks good. And we'll move on to the next one. So that one is from the center over 3 and then another 6. 1, 2, 3. Over 4. You guys almost let me make a disaster. And then our last one is from here up 3. Jerks. So we'll do that one and then this little 2 by 2 that will attach. And this room over here is also going to be, if we're going to make any of the rooms over here wooden, it's going to be this one that kind of juts off here. So we'll make this 2 and then this piece here. So we know that that is going to be 1, 2, 3. And because that is 3 separate rooms, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. So with that in mind, right now, the color for the dark area is standard. It's the 100 brightness and everything like that. So what we're going to do, one more time just to make sure, measure many times, stamp once. We'll go up 4 and do 2. So that'll be our 2 right here. And then we know that the next one is going to be a 2 by 3. About that size, but the way that we're going to differentiate, and it's going to help us for the next map down the line, is we're going to make this actually brighter. So we'll do, let's see what 125 looks like. I feel like that might not be enough to differentiate like an eyeball, so we're going to bump it up to 140 and see how I like that instead. There you go. I feel like that's pretty easy to not screw up. And it's still at that 90% opacity. At that point, most of like the unnatural ground, the stuff that would be laid by a laborer, something like that, that's all put together. There is the little question of like what to do with the garden up here, and we might touch on that in a moment. And we know that there is at least one tree. While that's saving, we've got 2 trees actually, so we'll put the trees down and then we'll figure out the garden. So we'll get the tree right from, well, you know what, I'm going to just put tree and we'll look at the entire fantasy battle maps and see if there's any trees that I like any better than the core. So typically I would use something like the summer tree. I'm not going to use something from, well, so this is the tree that I usually use, these summer trees, but I actually do like the deciduous tree that I have here. I feel like it's a little bit leafier in some different ways than we usually see. And I could size it down for sure. Let's bring this over one more time. So it goes 1, 2, 3. So on our third step, it kind of kisses that. 1, 2, 3. It would be something like that. And what I might do is we're going to add some more of that like yellowy grass on the map here and there, but it's going to stand very much in contrast to this very verdant tree. So what we're going to do is go to the advanced settings here and change the hue until I feel like that's a nice color for Versali-Virai. I feel like that is, it's still leafy, it still has kind of like a, certain things can still survive here, but it's not so bright and beautiful that it looks like it's, I don't know, pulling some magic out of the ground or anything like that. A game master could decide when he's building his own map that that's what he wants to do, but in my case I don't want to do that. I want to play with things a little bit differently. So this different tree might not be different. It might be the same stamp, just rotated differently, and I can't really tell. Yep, same darn stamp. So we're going to use not number 2, and 3 looks so darn similar too. I don't like 2 or 3, but 1 looks different enough. Let's see if 4. 4 looks kind of, I like 1. 1 is the one I like. And this is right at the top here. We'll do something like that. And you can see that it preserved all the colors and everything, so I like that. In the, I'm going to bump that over a little bit actually. So in the spreadsheet, you can see I only gave myself those 4 tiles, and in Inkarnate, the trees are definitely going beyond those 4 tiles, and that's fine. I use the 4 tiles as kind of like the stump complex, like the trunk and the roots and everything like that. I am perfectly okay with the tree expanding the branches beyond the tiles that I've kind of designated for it. So that's okay so far. And then we'll think about that garden real quick and think about what we want to do. And of course, this is all before we even touch the inside of the tavern besides the floors. So we're definitely going to have to do the walls still. There's a lot that we have to put together. But as I mentioned earlier, the heat in this room is kind of making it so that the next couple of minutes is probably where we're going to call it quits. What we'll do is we'll go back to the yellowy grass. And where is my brush? Seriously, where is it? Oh, it's because we're doing the shape rectangle, not the circle. Alright, so what we're going to do is change the shape of that a lot. We're going to go back to a low opacity. It's my nemesis, but In this case, we need it. I've got my Parblo glove on, and I've got my Wacom Cintiq monitor in front of me. We're going to zoom in while we're playing with these things. And eventually, I'm going to actually make it much smaller. Eventually, what we're going to do with this area is maybe add little gardens that people have. Things like that. I want it to feel a little bit more lived in and intentional in some places. Nature wants to do its own thing, but the residents of Versali-Virai want to do other things entirely. So they're going to try and liven it up in some ways. It might be gardens, it might be little, ornate things. The tavern area might not have, if you're thinking about it like the world that we live in now, you might not want to have too many places denoting like your place of worship and stuff like that, because you don't want to possibly scare off any patrons or anything like that. So with that in mind, there might not be any shrines or statues or anything like that of like the deities, because different races might believe in different deities. You don't want to make the dwarves reticent to stay at the inn if you've got gods that aren't their gods. You don't want them to feel unwelcome. So we have that kind of chunky grass that we're using right now, where you can see like the little bald spots that have shown up. We're actually going to go back to the catalog, and you see there's this more verdant grass that we have here. Once again, I'm going to go back and get the right color. So we're going to go to a hue of -30 again. So it'll be that yellowy kind of color. We might even be able to make it more like an orange color. Yeah, we'll go with that. And we're actually going to use this to fill in some of those bald spots. Some places we'll leave. I feel like, put that there. The places by the road, maybe we'll leave them. But here, specifically, those are the places where we're going to put like a garden anyway, so we might have some different kind of dirt that kind of shows up and looks nicer. But I could see, especially if you're traveling with a big party and no one's really sticking to the cobblestones, you're trouncing all over the ground and everything, and it just beats it up over time. But in these less trodden areas, you're going to have a little bit more grass. And I left that area because we're actually going to make that more green altogether. We're not going to use that yellowy color. We're going to use a straight up green. And we'll probably have to go over this a couple of times. And as long as you don't lift up your stylus or let go of your mouse click, when you go over this again, so you see, like I lifted the stylus, it's still got that nice one note color. So like if I came over here, we'll do a Control Z. I'm going left and right, left and right, left and right. It never gets darker than that. But if I lift up my stylus, I go over here, it's no longer being pressed down. Now if I go down, you can see it gets darker. It gets darker. It gets darker. So we just want a subtle amount of leafy greens over there on the left. And I actually don't even want to do what I had before, so we're going to take it down to 25 and do one more layer. I want to be careful about not actually getting into the tavern. The walls are going to cover most of that area up anyway, but this just is doing what I want to do. And what we'll do is maybe the first of our other stamps. I don't want to touch inside yet because that's like a whole thing. I feel like if I start working on the inside, I'm going to keep on working on the inside. And we'll keep this to at most an hour. But I want to do like a bench. I am in the brushes. I want to be in the stamps. You can tell like if I'm in this room for too long when it's hot, my brain just kind of starts to melt. So these are kind of like indoor pews and everything, whereas the Fae stuff that we have here It looks pretty nice. I mean, they say it's a shamrock bench, but I doubt, like, the player's never going to really realize that it's shamrock when they're looking at it. So we'll turn that sideways because I like the idea of it being here and here. Right now, you could fit 2 butts on there. You know, you're in a 5-foot space, 2.5 feet per butt. Does that sound right to everybody? I'm trying to see. That sounds about right. I feel like each of my butt cheeks is a foot, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. I might even squeeze a cheek. There we go. I actually like that better. So the math for the squares, each one of these tiles, Kev, is a... if you have extra butts, then it's 1 foot per butt cheek. The squares are 5 feet each, so it's a 5-foot square, which means that each of these benches is 5 feet. So technically, you have room for 2.5 foot butts. Right now, I'm thinking that each of my butt cheeks is about a foot, maybe less. It might be like an 8-inch butt cheek. But I'm trying to see, like, 2 people could easily fit there. At some point, I'll figure out what to put in the center area there, too. Like, there might be, like, a water feature, like a fountain or something. In fact, we're here. Why not look? Not a fountain. So we've got this little well. I'm not going to use that, but we actually will use one of these elven fountains, because I feel like that's a nice look. Do I go square or do I go circle? I think I do circle. There's so many squares up in that area. I feel like a circle is going to be a nice touch. And we're just going to make a little one that kind of stops right in the center there. It's kind of equidistant from each of these benches. Yeah, I just feel like that looks nice. And that's kind of like an area for people to relax outside if they don't want to be in the tavern the night, you know, the morning after or anything like that. It's very possible that they are 6 feet in real life, Kev. It's just at this point, I feel like they fit a little nicer into the tiles, whereas 6 feet kind of like it squeezes out into the other tiles. I mean, it does it right now too, but at least like the sitting part kind of fits in nicely. And what I'll do while I'm here, I am going to once again pick up my pen. We are going to dial this back a lot. I'm going to do a couple of passes up here. That is going to be the entrance to that walkway. And eventually we'll have a door there. That just kind of helps me to visualize it a little bit. Actually, it's a little too much. I don't like it at all. We're going to do it one more time. We'll actually bring it down to 1. Very subtle about it. There you go. You can barely notice it. I'll know it's there. All right, we're going to save one more time. And Kev, I know you were working on your Twitch stuff. Did you end up doing everything that you were aiming to do with yours? Or is there anything that we can chat about to help you out or anything? That's okay. It all starts at some point, and then you figure out what you need, what excites you, that kind of stuff. I feel like this is a nice stopping point. So what I might do is kind of, I feel like I was okay at like 15, 20 minutes in, but at 40, 45 minutes in, I'm a sweaty mess, and I don't want to show my face on camera. But what we can do is certainly leave the chat portion of this open. We'll go for another 3 minutes or so, and then I'll pitch over to the ending screen. I'm going to try and do right by all the ways that Kev has taught me over the years, and talk about where you can find us afterwards and everything like that. So let me pop open another window. I actually know all the websites and everything. And that is good that you have all your suggested channels and everything like that, Kev. I'm going to have to look at yours because there's still things that I don't know either. Let's actually go to my page and not my scheduled posts. My Patreon is acting up today. I actually sent them a message earlier because my scheduled posts only go out to August 23rd, and I had them scheduled all the way through... they're coming back. Earlier today, I was worried that all the work that I did through like September 12th was gone, but I have them all there. It actually looks like I might have missed one. Kev, I had this way back when Hosier was doing some of our art, and like I was like throwing in bits and stuff like that, and maybe like a year back when we were working on Merge Dungeon, the programmer who was working on that game with us was telling me about Kahuna the Elder, I believe his name is, and it's like him and like 3 other people that I follow, and I've never, for whatever reason, Twitch doesn't ever let me know when he's on, so I've never actually gone and seen him live or anything like that, just because typically I'm either working or I'm doing my own streams or I'm not in the house or anything like that. So I just haven't had a chance. I watched Hosier like crazy. I wonder what we should do with the That's Entertainment channel, because I play the games typically on this channel just because it makes sense. I'm streaming myself, not Telest, technically not That's Entertainment. Whereas the YouTube That's Entertainment is going to like take the stuff that I do here and move that over. I don't know that I would use a separate Twitch channel just because it's such a slog getting followers in the first place, and I want to try and make sure that I'm making momentum. You know, if I'm starting from scratch with That's Entertainment, I feel like it's going to take forever to get to 50 and do the cool things that we want to do. Because so Kev, Rihanna, and Matt and I were talking earlier. Next Monday, we're going to do something really cool on the Talking Telest stream on Monday at 7, where we're actually going to play the tabletop game that we made over Twitch. We're going to use a combination of Photoshop and Twitch, maybe Discord, because Rihanna and I talked about like maybe having like a vocal element to it for the players, and we might be able to use like Discord later for bringing in other stuff like that. Something called squads. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. That's especially, well, I don't know. I don't know if Matt's going to be streaming from Twitch. He might be doing the other thing. I've been trying to convince him otherwise, but in any case, the project that we have next week, I have a really good feeling about. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll open up some things for the future that we can play around with that I'm excited for as well. While I'm talking, let me open up a couple of the other things. Certainly I know my own website, but I just want to have it in front of me, just so that it's kind of like, I want to build that muscle memory and stuff like that. So we got 4 big places. Well, 5, because we have YouTube now too. Burp, 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 burp. I'm probably going to have like a soundbite that plays this stuff automatically for me. I have this Stream Deck. I might as well be using it anyway. All right, so there's a couple of places that you can find me, folks. You can certainly find me on my home website, which is telest.com. You can find me at Facebook at facebook.com/ I lied, I didn't do this the right way. I think it's Telest Books. Twitter is twitter.com/Telest. Our YouTube channel is, I think it's just Telest. Everything is loading slow as anything. I should have put myself on like intermission. Where am I? I mean, it's all on the bottom too. There should be like a whole bunch of panels and everything like that. But Kev, This is what you get when I do it live. You get this kind of stuff. I have to verify myself on YouTube because it signed me out at Telest. This whole darn thing. And I don't even think I have the ability to move over on my phone or anything. Brats. Yeah, it wants to freaking send. Don't mind me, folks. Again, going a little loopy. My brain is starting to melt because of the heat. And then, while I'm waiting for the YouTube channel to verify for us, our Patreon is just patreon.com/Telest. You know, Rihanna had an issue with her TikTok where she lost that too. I feel like there's so many darn social media accounts these days that it's very easy to lose track of things and not have an easy way back in. What do we got? I got the video details, but I actually want to see the video. What's my channel name? Everything's going to change when I have a faster computer, too. I believe our YouTube is youtube.com/@worldoftelest. And I think that's probably... I mean, we have these panels in the bottom, too. If you're looking at it on the phone, I don't know if you see those, but typically on the website, if you go there and you go to, like, the About section, you see, like, 12 different panels. And Francois is currently working on more, too, so we should have those cleaned up a little bit. Yeah, I think that is going to probably wrap us up for today. And, let's see, back in my day, things was simple. Passwords was password, and everything was just fine. Sometimes we added a 1, sometimes we added a 2. All right. I am going to wrap this up as soon as my wife asks the all-important question. She'll get there. It's important. It's necessary for me to close these. I would love a chalky milk. All right. Until next time, folks, thank you for joining.